Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we're going to be doing just some basic maintenance on a 2013. It's a Hyundai Santa Fe with a 2.4 liter engine. We're going to be changing the oil and the filter. Now the oil and filter change is a fairly simple procedure, but there is one precaution that you need to make sure that you do. When you take the oil filter down out of the vehicle, you have to make sure that that rubber O-ring on the filter comes off. Frequently that rubber O-ring sticks up onto the block itself and it stays up there. And if you try to screw the new oil filter on, it'll screw on and it'll tighten on and you think you're good. But then you'll start the vehicle up and before you know it, you got oil everywhere. It just blows out and leaks oil every place. So I will show you once I pull the filter off what you have to look for, but that's very, very important. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that happen before. After we put the oil in, this one does call for 4.86 quarts. We're going to put 4.5 quarts in, and then we're going to start the vehicle, make sure it's not leaking for one, and then we're going to check the oil level after we shut it off to make sure that the oil is up to the full mark, and then we can add the appropriate amount of oil to bring it up to the full mark, or the maximum mark. After the oil is done and the filter is replaced, we're going to go into the vehicle and we're going to reset the oil change required light. Very important because that'll illuminate the next time you're ready for an oil change to be performed, and therefore you can keep track of your mileage in between the service intervals. All right, so enough talking. Let's get up there and let's get started. And as I always do, put your gloves on because this is going to be messy. Okay. Okay, this is an example of what kind of tools you're going to need to do the oil change. Obviously, we're going to need a ratchet, an extension, a couple of sockets, and this is a filter wrench to actually take this filter off of the vehicle. What it does is it goes up and around the filter, and I will show you how it works, but basically this just slides open, and when it slides open, it goes around the filter, and we can take the filter off. So I will show you how that works. As far as the oil change itself, this is where the oil drain plug is located, right up inside here. It's probably a 17 millimeter. So we are going to take that out. We're going to let the fluid drain into a suitable container like this. And then we're going to come up underneath here, and we're going to take this off right here, and we're going to take the filter out. So, all right, let me get a rag, and we're going to continue. Okay, so now we're going to take that out. That's probably going to be a 17 millimeter. It is. Now, you can break it loose, but it is a little bit messy, so you want to make sure you have a suitable container to catch the oil in. What I normally do is I just get in here with a long, after I broke it loose, I'll get in here with a long extension like this. Just bring this up a little bit. And then you can unscrew the bolt out. And this minimizes the amount of oil that you get all over you. Okay? By just pulling it out like that, you don't have all that oil all over your hands and everything else. So now we're going to let that oil drain out. And once it finishes draining out, then we'll come back and we're going to put that plug back in, and then we'll go up in the front and we'll take that filter off. So, all right, we'll let it drain out and we'll come right back. Okay, now after the oil stops draining, you replace your drain plug here with a new oil drain plug if it's damaged. If it's not damaged, you can reuse the old one. All right, now we're going to screw this in by hand, so we make sure we don't cross-thread it at all. All right, and once we have it screwed in by hand, we're going to tighten it up with the ratchet. Okay, now once you have it screwed in, then you can tighten it up until it's snug in the oil pan like this. Nice and tight, and you just clean off any residual oil that's up in there. All right, and then we're going to come up front here, and we're going to change the filter. Okay, I can hope you can see where I'm going to be working, but that's where the oil filter housing is. And what we do is just take this cover right here off. Then our filter is going to be hard for you to see the filter, but it's up inside there. We're going to take this piece like this. Now the filter is up in here like this, and what you're basically going to do is you're going to put this tool on it like that, and then we're going to turn it and take it out. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. Now we're just going to do this. We're going to loosen a little bit. All right, then we're going to take this down. Now this is going to be a little bit messy, so we're going to let this drain out a little bit first. So we're going to let it drain a little bit, and once it finishes draining, then we'll totally take it out and we'll put our new filter in. As you can see, it is a kind of a tight spot up there, but that's pretty much where the filter is located. Look at the better light up there for you. Okay, that is where your filter is located up in there. I know I don't want to start dripping all over my camera, but that's pretty much where your filter is right there. So now we're going to take that filter down, and we're going to continue. Now, remember what I told you about that gasket up in there, okay? So let's take this out. That's why it's nice to have gloves on, because it really doesn't matter if you get oil in your hands. You just wipe it right off. Now, remember what I told you about that that old filter. You have to make sure. Now in this case, it did come down. But you see that gasket right there? That gasket sometimes sticks up top. Now if it did stick up top, you would just take it, reach up, take it off with your finger, and you throw it away. All right, so let me change my gloves and we're going to continue putting this back together. Okay, so now whenever you put the new filter in, before you put it back into the vehicle, the gasket on here, you have to put a little thin bead of oil on there. A lot of guys use the old oil. I don't. I use the oil that I'm going to put, the new oil, put it on there like that. I'm going to relocate this oil for now so we don't spill it. And now we're going to screw this filter back up as tight as we can by hand. All right, the oil filter is only screwed on by hand, as tight as you can make it. A lot of guys will put a wrench on it and tighten it with a wrench. You never want to do that. All right, so now that's all done. And then we're going to take our cover, put it back up in here and just push it, and it snaps back into where it's supposed to be. All right, now we're going to lower it down and we're going to put the oil in it, and we'll wrap this job up. And then once we have it back down on the ground, this is where you put your motor oil into. You just take that cap off. And if you look on the back, right here, it'll tell you what weight oil goes in here. This calls for a 5W20, so that's what we're going to use, the 5W20. I always use a funnel, because it's a lot easier than making a mess. Okay, now we know it takes 4.86 quarts of oil, which is what we're going to use right now. now we'll just take that funnel out. We're going to put the cap back on. Make sure your cap is screwed on nice and tight. And then we're going to start it and let it run for a minute. And now we'll just let the car sit for just a minute, and then we'll take the dipstick out. You always wipe the dipstick down so it's nice and clean. And I will show you this. These are the marks right here, the minimum and the maximum, and you should be very close to the upper portion right here. So let's check it just to make sure. And it's going to take about a half a quart more. So let me grab another half a quart and we'll come right back. Okay, it's much easier to add a half a quart than it is to try to take any out. Okay. Now we'll just let it sit for a minute before I take that out. We're going to check it again. And as you can see, we are right to the full mark right now, so we're perfect. All right, then we'll take this out. Make sure you put your cap back on. That's it, you're all set, all right? Okay, now I will tell you this. It's always better to be a little bit short than a little bit over, because you can always add that little bit of oil to it versus having it overfilled, and then you got to try to take it out. So what I always do, it calls for 4.86. I put in like 4.5 and then check it again just to make sure, and then bring it up to the full mark, right to the full mark. That's it, you're all set. Okay, this is a 2013 Hyundai Santa Fe. I'm going to show you now how to reset this service maintenance required light right here. What you're basically going to do is you're going to get in the vehicle, you're going to turn the key to the on position, not start the vehicle. You're going to come down to the steering wheel right over here, and you're going to press this button right here until it comes up to the reset. So we'll do that. And then you come down to this button right over here, and you press and hold this button, and it should reset. Let's turn it off now. We'll turn it back on. Okay, we come down to this button right here, and we press this button until it comes to service required. And then we're going to press this button here and hold it, and it should reset in 3,000 miles and in 91 days. All right, so that's it. Now we shut the key off, and we'll turn it on just to make sure. Systems check. Service due in 3,000 miles or 91 days, whichever comes first. All right, so again, you just get into the vehicle, turn the key to the on position, you wait for the dashboard to actually come up and become alive. You'll come down to this area right here. You'll press this little button here until it comes up to service, like this, but it'll actually say, of course, service required. And then you hold this button right here, and you hold it, and it'll come up to service in 3,000 miles or 91 days. That's it, you're all set. All right, any questions or comments, you need to talk to me about anything, you send me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.